Alrighty, my friends, we are back with another. I don't have a word.
Oh boy.
Another.
I don't either.
Impactful episode of V8 Radio.
Episode. I love it.
I'm your host, Kevin Oeste, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Q-Ball Clarke.
What's going on, Kev?
Mike, who is wearing a T-shirt with the brand of his day job, Impact, triggering our adjective for today because
exactly
neither one of us did our homework.
No, we failed to do our show prep.
And that was in
as soon as we started rolling, I said, God, I hope Kevin has the adjective.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, I did it usual suspect style with the barbershop quartet in Skokie, Illinois. You know, do you remember the movie?
Yeah.
Kaiser Sose,
Oh, yeah.
the bad guy, reads all the words in the interrogation room and creates a story. Well, just did that right now.
Yeah, nicely done, Kaiser.
Thank you. I had something there, I lost it. So, what typically on this show, we like to start with an automotive trivia question, which really is a nice way to hook listeners into listening to the whole thing.
They can't help themselves. They have to know what happens.
Did you prepare that part at least?
Yeah, I did do that much show prep.
Right.
I scrambled for it this morning, but I did it.
All right.
Okay.
You go first then.
All right, here we go. We have a GTO trivia question today, Kev.
Wow, that's
All
interesting.
things. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
No.
A lot of people who are in the GTO community know what the high water mark for production was for GTOs, which was 1966 with about 96,000 units. However, Kevin, can you tell me what what year was? Yes. Can you tell me what year was the low water mark for production of all the GTOs, including the 04 through 06?
I'm going to say 74.
Are you? 74, eh?
That's what I'm going to say. Not many 74 GTOs out there, which, as you know, was an X platform off the
Correct.
Nova. I don't know how many they made.
That's okay.
That's
that wasn't
good,
part
right?
of the trivia. I was going to give you that as a bonus.
All right.
But
well, that's my guess.
Not part of the criteria to be correct or not. So Kevin says 74.
Yeah, that early 70s. You know, interesting, it's a dismal period for performance relatively because everything started to skid after 1970, 71. But, all right, so you had the Nova in that platform, the GTO, you had the Buick Apollo, you had the Oldsmobile Omega, and the Nova was always the Nova. The A-body platform became the GTO and the X-body. So I thought that was interesting that the brand jumped platforms. The Buick did not go from they didn't have anything before the Buick Apollo. So they created the Apollo on that platform, right? So they still had the Grand Sport, but it was on a Regal platform at that point. And the Oldsmobile with their Oldsomega, you could still get a 442 and a Cutlass because they still had the Cutlass.
Right.
But the GTO, they had the Le Mans, which was the A-body big platform. I don't know why that didn't just become the GTO. They moved it to the X platform. So, weird stuff.
Yeah, just definitely some chess moves going on in GM at that time.
But I will tell you that the Buick version, just the other day, I saw a 74 Buick Grand Sport. And you could still, I think even by 74, you could still get something called a Stage 1, which wasn't anything what it used to be. But although those power plants in that time period all got choked down with smog equipment and low compression and American automakers were kind of spinning their heads on trying to figure out what was going on with EPA and no lead gasoline and all that stuff. On the flip side, the chassis got much, much better. So the arc of evolution of that A-body that started in 64, and I think they actually started calling them the G-body by 73, but the parts haven't changed.
I think you're right.
That front suspension is real nice. The rear suspension is, those cars drive really, really, really well. So today, if you want a nice way to get into a low buck, kind of cool performance car, find yourself a 73 or 74 Tempest or a Skylark or a Regal or a Cutlass and do, either a modern style engine rebuild like you are with roller cam and roller stuff and fuel injection, or, dare I say, throw an LS motor in it. But the suspension bolt-on parts are there, and you can have a really awesome car that doesn't necessarily look like a 66 GTO,
Right.
but you can get into them cheap still.
Yeah, that's a great point. There are still plenty out there, and they look great. I love the look of a 73, 74, 75, 76 Le Mans. That whole swoopy kind of a look that they had. They have really pretty lines to them. So, that's a real option.
Triangular quarter window and that kind of pointed rear, and the Pontiac especially. The interiors were killer, bucket seats and consoles and gauges and everything. So our friends at Detroit Speed just shared a photograph of, I believe, a Monte Carlo, about a 73 or 4. No, it was a square headlight, so 76 maybe?
Got to be 76.
Swivel seats, red with the red Landau top, but it had their suspension on it and had an LS in it, and I thought that is a hot way to go. That's a cool way to get into a car.
Yeah, I like that era Monte Carlo. The old man had a 75 Monte Carlo. It was like a sky blue color. It had the swivel seats and the console and all that. It was a fun car to be in. I liked that too, along with the 71 that he had too.
Yeah,
that we talked about in the last episode.
Right. Yes. But those cars, it's funny now that you think about it. Our friend Paul's next door neighbor had a 76 Cutlass, and it was red with the red velour interior, buckets.
Oh yeah.
T-tops and a white Landau half vinyl, and old super stock 2 wheels on it, and it was awesome. I mean, it was just, that car turned heads everywhere, and it helped that this guy spent every waking moment waxing this thing. I mean, this was his.
It does help.
This was his deal. And then another friend of mine in high school had a 73. I guess it was a Regal, 73 or 4. I don't remember the first year for the Regal name. Buick 350 4-barrel car, and it had kind of a titanium silver gray color with a red, I think it was a red vinyl bucket seat interior, and Buick rally wheels on it and everything, and it was nice. I mean, it's time for those cars, I think, to start seeing some love.
Yeah, they need to make a resurgence. I agree completely.
None of which are 74 GTOs, though. So
no, none of which are. No, sir.
All right. Well,
we beat that to death. So
yes. How about that?
What do you got for us?
Good job. Mine is actually a GTO question of all things.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, man!
I am not kidding.
No,
but it's much simpler.
Okay.
How many 1971 GTO Judge convertibles were painted white?
You're a jackass.
And as you know, they made 17 of those cars.
17 convertibles, right?
Yeah, so...
all the white ones... Well, knowing you... It's either going to be 0 or it's going to be 1.
Well, I'll give you a hint, because I'm that kind of a guy.
Oh, you're a nice guy.
You were in the presence of 2 of them.
Oh.
At the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals.
All right, so it's not 0, it's not 1.
Yeah, so not knowing me, how about that?
All right. Let's see. Well, obviously it's a low number, as you only have 17 to play with.
Did you see all 2 of them, or all the production at once, one day in Rosemont at the McCacken show, or are there more? Because there's not less.
Well, of course there's not less. Did we see all of them?
You're
wrecking my brain, man.
That's the question.
Yeah. Okay.
And
you know
to
what?
buy you a little time, the two that were there at the McCacken show, one is essentially unrestored original, and that's the one that we featured on Muscle Car of the Week.
Right.
The other
right.
one is a restored car that has options on it that I never knew existed. Like, I think it has a rear headphone jack.
What?
Yeah, and the side panel, the backseat passenger could plug in a set of headphones.
Like a quarter-inch jack or something?
Yep, quarter-inch jack, and listen to the front mount 8-track. I mean, it was serious. All kinds of goofy stuff on that car.
Serious.
The restored car was also the basis for the 1/18 scale model that you can go buy. So you can go get your own if you want.
All right.
Yeah, can't get the
It
real
won't cost
one.
me $1 million. How about that?
No.
Okay. Well, all right. In the interest of time and to save the agony of our listeners.
Well, when does either of those matter?
I'm turning over a new leaf, man. Let's see. I'll go with two. There were two white ones.
Two. All right.
Two. Shoot. I'm gonna regret that answer, but two is what I gotta stick with.
Well, the good thing is that you know with authority that there was at least two.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
All right, two it is.
Right
Put it on
on.
the books.
It's written down. It's noted.
Noted. Very good.
Yeah. So, what else is happening, man? It's hot in the garage.
It is hot, but you've had a busy couple of weeks lately. You did a little traveling. You went to DuQuoin.
Yeah, right.
the,
Yeah. Street Machine Nationals a couple weeks ago in DuQuoin. Good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, showed a lot of good pictures from that. It was looked like a heck of a time. You had some live feeds.
Yeah, and it's
Going on
interesting.
from
The Street Machine Nationals, especially the DuQuoin event, started many years ago in the 80s and evolved into just this crazy event in the 90s that I had gone to, I think, 3 times in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And it was burnouts and debauchery and I think at one point they had 30,000 people there in the town of DuQuoin, which normally has, I think maybe 3,000, 2,000. So at one point we estimated there was just as many Illinois State Police cars as there were, cars on display, because it was insane. And the town
sounds like the Sturgis of car shows.
That's a good way to put it. It wasn't quite as outlaw themed, but it was like MTV Spring Break versus a little bit of Sturgis with tire smoke everywhere. And the other fun thing about it is it was one of the top Pro Street shows in the world, and
really?
Pro Street is a very limited genre. You don't see those cars everywhere. But what they bring to the party is that they're all about fun. They're bright colors, they're exaggerated engines, and they're cartoons on wheels. And their owners are a lot of fun too. And that's how it turned into this craziness, because these guys are just going wild, and it used to be a lot of fun. Well, today, the town and the state kind of put the kibosh on the whole thing, and it went away for a long, long time, and it came back 5 years ago. And it's funny because today, now you walk around, and all the people that used to be going ape nuts back in the day, now they're there walking their kids around.
Amazing how that tempers a person.
Yes, and they're telling the remember when stories, and what happened over here, and so there's that element. It's still a big Pro Street event, but interestingly, a lot of the cars that appeared there back in the day are still intact, and they look exactly the same today. So it's
That's
a huge
nice.
time warp kind of feel, which is cool. And I get that not everybody's into the Pro Street thing, and like I said, that weekend I'm a Pro Street guy. The rest of the year it's not really super my deal, but it's a lot of fun to go there for that. And we brought. We had 4 vehicles there throughout the weekend. The 64 C10 pickup truck we did for a local guy a few years ago. It's satin black with an L92, and he basically drives that thing daily in the summertime, so that's cool. The black 69 Chevelle that you saw at the McCacken show, that was there. The silver LT4 Camaro we're finishing up is there, and then the Bronco was there too. So the Bronco, we just did a 5.0 Coyote swap on, and it came out great. It drives wonderfully. Turn the key. And,
Does it?
yeah.
I would think that would be a handful with that short wheelbase. And
I was
that
thinking
Coyote
that
engine.
originally, like you don't need to put power in a Bronco.
Yeah.
But it's so refined. It's so easy to control and
Really?
easy to drive. Oh, it's a sweetheart, man. And
Nice.
the Bronco deal, those are really catching on. They're very, very popular right now. I think we have. We just sent that black one home to its owner, but we have 3 of them in the shop. We got
Wow.
yeah. One was the
Jeez.
5.0 project, which we didn't restore the truck. We just repowered it and fixed a bunch of stuff. And then another. I guess we got 2 more. A small block Ford, just kind of fix a bunch of junk on it, and then I've got another small block one that came in that the guy's looking for a total resto on. But I'd like to get him behind the wheel of this black one to say, you need this motor, because it's nice. So we'll have
Right on.
video on that one on the build of the black Bronco,
Good.
as well as the LT4 Camaro coming out. So
Dig it.
Yeah.
Dig it. I think I saw a post from Trevor regarding that '69 Chevelle. It's getting a new power plant.
that's a different one. That's a
That is.
yeah.
Oh.
that one is
I thought it was the same one.
a 68. No, that's a 69 also. Yeah, it's a 69.
69, yeah.
And we did a bunch of work on that car. It was built in Oklahoma, and the customer sent it to us, and we it was interesting because it's got a great list of parts in it. It's a 454 GM crate engine and a TKO 600 5-speed, and it had a good clutch and a hydro boost and good brakes and everything, but none of the stuff worked together. So
Oh, really?
even with a hydraulic clutch, it took both feet to step on the pedal because the ever important indexing of the transmission and bell housing to the block wasn't done properly. So the clutch didn't slide on the input shaft the way it's supposed to, and it bound and all that stuff. And we found all kinds of weirdness. The oil pan had been like bent, and the ceiling rail was tweaked and welded on and ground, and it didn't seal properly, and just a lot of take the stuff out of the box and screw it to the car and not refine it.
I see.
So we went through and fixed all that stuff and sent the car home, and the customer said, this is great, but I think I want a little bit more. So now our friend Graham Jones at Fast Times Motor Works is screwing together a 468 big block Chevy for it, with all forged internals and a good I think it's an eagle rod and forged pistons and full roller cam and everything, and
Sweet.
it should make. This car has an MSD atomic fuel injection system on it, so it has the drivability is there, but I don't know. Graham's talking about 530 horsepower and about 600 foot-pounds.
That sounds about right.
So yeah, it should be nice.
Very good. Yeah. We gotta document that one well.
Yeah. In fact, he's going to start screwing the motor together next week, I think. And interesting customer. He's a very cool guy. He was in the professional audio business with doing stage audio and concerts and stuff. So he personally knows Alex Lifeson from Rush. And
Oh, is that right?
yeah, and he's seen Rush, I thought he said 76 times, and emails him back and forth and stuff, and that's always the fun thing for me too, is to learn about these people that we're working on these cars for, because they've all got cool stories, and so whenever he calls, it's usually a minute or two in the car, and then we talk for 20 minutes about about other stuff. That's part of the experience.
Very cool. Very cool. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. A bunch of cars came in the shop this past week. I unfortunately was out of town. I was in Scottsdale helping my mom out. She had knee surgery, and is doing very well, so that's great. But I was getting updates from Kelly and Rod and Trevor in the shop, And I'm going to walk in and see cars I've never seen before that we have new projects in, so that's cool.
All right. That'll be fun.
Yeah, a guy
It's like Christmas.
It is like Christmas. Another guy, I think it's a 70 Chevelle. Again, I've not seen this car in person. It's been in his barn for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years, and he's getting married in October and wants to drive it in the wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, oh wow, right. So is it clean it up and just make it run? I think that's what the deal is. It's not like we're pulling it off the frame or anything and doing a complete job on it.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
Hopefully it's solid enough to do that.
I hope
Hopefully
so too.
it doesn't have holes in the floor, or the frame rotted, or anything like that. That would be tragedy.
We don't need the new bride falling out the bottom of the car.
No, nobody needs that.
And you also don't need a wedding car overheating in the processional and causing additional stress. So
yeah, great way to start the marriage.
Yeah, remember you had to have your car in it, and it puke cooling all over Grandma, and yeah, you don't need that.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
And that happens.
Oh, man.
People that have their cars in their weddings. I know Kelly and I had our 62 Galaxy in our wedding because that's how we met, was because of that car. And thankfully it was sorted out well enough to where it didn't have any issues. But please start. Please,
oh God, if you're going to start now.
Right.
Man. Mm-hmm. Pressure. Oh, yeah, I wanted to have like a Model A or Model T or something take us away at our wedding, but we ended up. This lady that my wife worked with was friends with a guy that had a vintage Cadillac convertible, and that's what we rode off in.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. It was all right. I didn't like the color, but what are you gonna do?
It's all about compromise, my man. And it's from day one on.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But the Caddy's nice. It's big and comfortable and quiet.
Yeah, it was big and roomy. Had a nice white interior. It was cool.
Yeah, right on. Another neat one that just arrived in the shop is a 68 Camaro that I've known about for probably since the early 2000s. And it belongs to a guy named Tony Rappin, who lives in Michigan. He's actually a GM employee. He does surface engineering and designing of cars, of new cars. So like when you go out to your Chevrolet dealer and you marvel at the way the new cars fit together as opposed to the way the old ones did, that's what this guy does. Yeah, he's an engineer, and at the same time, he's one of the moderators on ProTouring.com, the Pro Touring Forum. And I've been a member there since 2004, I think, and his project's been on that forum since then and earlier.
Right.
It's a silver 68, and you probably have seen it. It's got the thing about this car is that Tony is a regular guy with 3 sons and a job and a wife and a house, and he doesn't have, Brinks trucks full of expendable income and palatial facilities to build this car. So he's been a regular guy, weekend warrior. When I get a couple of minutes and a couple of bucks, I throw it at the car. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. That's right.
I think I know this guy very well.
Yes, right.
Like.
And the car from the early 2000s, I guess, when he kind of started building it, and this is all documented, by the way, on Pro Touring. You can go back and read his thread. It goes back 15 years. But he has the intentions of building, one of the early LS1 conversion Camaros.
Is that right?
Yes, and today it's not running yet, but it's an LS1 at 68. So it's amazing how fast this time goes by, and trying to make something cutting edge at the moment, and life happening to where you just can't pull it together. Yeah. So it's amazing to me that he relinquished the car to us, because not to say that he's the ultimate do-it-yourselfer, because I think he came to terms with the fact that he kind of needed a hand with this. But he dragged it to our shop all the way down from Michigan. He brought his son and his dad with him and made a whole ordeal. And I feel terrible I wasn't in town to meet him, but Kelly was there and Trevor, and they went through it all. And so our initial mission is, again, he's on a tight budget, so we have to be very careful about choices and help him where he needs the help.
I know about choices.
Right. No, we all do. It's tough.
Yeah.
So that one, I think we're going to be doing the wiring harness, fuel system, cooling system, get that stuff kind of sorted out and get the car actually running. And then the next phase will be, exhaust and a few things. And he's got some sheet metal issues underneath, some floor issues that need to be buttoned up. But we'll just see, what he can handle at this point. But I would really like to, turn the key and see him and his kids and his dad get a chance to hear this thing come to life, because he has been on a long, long journey.
Yeah, I thought I've been on a long journey. This guy has been on quite the quest.
Yes.
My goodness.
Tony and I met in person the first time at one of the Run Through the Hills events, which was kind of a Pro Touring sponsored deal at Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And it was an autocross thing, and he came down to hang out, and be part of the deal, because he was, again, a moderator on Pro Touring, and we had a lot of fun that weekend. So that planted the seed, that eventually he liked Kelly and I and trusted us enough to look after his car for him someday. So here we are. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. What state is the car in currently? I mean, is the engine in it, and is it all together?
The engine is in it. It got painted. It's silver. It's got stripes. It's got LS1 badges on the fenders.
Really?
It's engine's in it. The wiring harness is kind of sitting on top of it. And then there's boxes and boxes of parts. And the fun thing is that every one of the parts, it seems like, has a story. So he's got a narrowed stainless steel, I think it's a Rix fuel tank, with it's the 1,000+ horsepower capacity fuel pump system, and dash 10 garden hose size fittings on it. And you look at this and it's, this is kind of a stock LS1, so I'm not sure that's the right tank. Well, it turns out the tank belonged to Larry Callahan, who still is the owner of ProTouring.com. And I remember this going down a long time ago. Larry was doing his Motivator Camaro, and it was a twin turbo car, and he was changing his fuel system up, and he bequeathed his tank to Tony as an act of kindness, which was a very nice thing to do, because that's an expensive piece. And so Tony accepted this, with gratitude, and really wanted to use it because of that. And we're looking at this today saying it is pretty awesome, but at the same time, it's far too much of a fuel system, and to change the pump out and change all the fittings out is going to be X number of dollars, because those fittings add up fast. So maybe
they do, don't they?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. So maybe he just needs to switch it with one of the reproduction tanks that has the pump built into it, kind of thing, and maybe he could, move that other tank to somebody else who's building a higher power car and put the money back into his project. But
is it that the volume is just too high on that pump for what he's doing, or can you regulate it down? Or
well, you can, but we like to build these things to where everything is kind of acting naturally. I see. I don't want a super high pressure, high volume pump having to be choked down with a regulator, because you're making that regulator work real hard. You're making
I see that.
Everything is, that pump is pushing a full head of steam all the time, and you can heat fuel up and stress things that don't need to be stressed. So let's just make everything happy and natural for what it is. Effortless is the word I like. If it can perform effortlessly.
Good point. Yeah.
Then things will be happy together. So
we want everything kind of matched and to work right and work together.
Right.
Exactly. In harmony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want a harmonious build.
That's right. Harmonious.
Oh, next episode, people. A harmonious episode of V8 Radio is coming.
Or we invent a new word called aharmonious, which is when things don't go in perfect harmony. It's
Aharmonious, exactly.
That's right, a cacophony of disarray. No, but that should go well. We're looking forward to working on that one. So.
Well, cool. Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, always a lot of projects, which is great.
No doubt.
So, last time we spoke, you were putting short block stuff together. Did you have any time to touch a GTO?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not had one spare moment to go hang out with Randy and do any of that stuff. So I have zero updates.
All right, good. Well, then we'll
kind of a bummer.
Save that for the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe there'll be a big one.
Oh, that bums me out. But life happens, man.
It certainly does. It happens all around. So yeah, I don't remember. Did I think we did talk about the Corvette Club that toured the shop last time.
Yeah.
So we also have a '63 Corvette, I think, coming in that's getting a full resto.
Ooh, split window?
It's a Roadster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pretty cool because it's been in the family since I don't know about day one, but pretty close. I think it was day one.
Wow.
And yeah, and those are a different animal altogether. They're packaged differently. And this one doesn't have to be like the chalk mark and overspray, and it's just going to be a very nice car. But it's kind of funny. We've done work on tons and tons and tons of Corvettes, but when you got to get in the mindset of how we discuss these projects with customers about what's going to happen to the car and kind of mentalizing the departments that they need to go through. And you can take almost the whole metal shop out of the equation on a Corvette because the body's not steel, So everybody says Corvettes are super expensive to restore, and yeah, they can be, but in some ways, if you're not welding quarters on, sure, you got to know fiberglass techniques to repair them, but if it's pretty straight, that actually is.
Yeah, that was my question I had. How do you deal with like panel warpage and gaps and things like that on a fiberglass car?
Well, it's a little tricky because fiberglass to me is alive. It seems to be moving all the time. And if you take a fiberglass hood off a car, Corvette or not, and set it on a fender stand or a work surface and body work it and everything, and block it flat, for example, you could put it back on the car and it could have a whole warp through the whole thing just from the tension of the springs and the latch and all that stuff.
Oh, I see.
Whereas steel does that also, but not to the same extent. So you really have to have the car together while you're finishing the fit.
I see.
But fiberglass is interesting because you can add to it, with resin and fiberglass. It's all you're doing is adding more of that stuff, which is good, and you can, change the shape of it that way. So you really sculpt those cars,
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's a true. I mean, bodywork in general is an art form, but
it is.
But fiberglass has it's a whole different realm to me. I mean, that's just craziness.
Yeah, and the bummer is when somebody puts together a fiberglass car and it looks perfect, and they go drive it for a couple of years, and just the action of using the car and being outside in the sun and time and everything, and you look at it again and things changed, and you go, oh man, the door.
You get like cracks and stuff.
Yeah, maybe not even cracks. Just something shifted a little bit. The bushings wore in a little bit on the frame, so now there's a little bit of stress over here, and now all of a sudden it's got a little swale in the panel or something, and that's why Corvettes are so hard to have a perfect one, because again, that fiberglass is always moving. But if you step back and look at the bigger picture, they're not really supposed to be a perfect show car. They're supposed to be a function car first. Mm-hmm. And that's just a function of what that material does, you get what you get. Now, today's glass is far different. You look at the new Corvettes, the structure is different, and they figured it out, But 60s and 70s and 80s cars even the 90s cars are kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Well, at McCacken, I've seen that, that white 53 that's been at McCacken a few times. if I noticed that, I think it was 53 or 54, at the one door, I think it was a passenger door. At the top, the door fit nice, and as you went down at the bottom, there was about 1.5 inch gap between the door and the quarter panel.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable how much warpage that was on that.
Yes, yeah. And again, those cars, you know, the short version of that story is that these things, Corvettes were supposed to be steel. The show car for the public display was done in fiberglass because fiberglass was this new mystical material and they wanted to get attention out of it. And then the public just assumed that it was going to be glass. So Chevrolet had to figure out how to make mass-produced fiberglass. Nobody had done it before. And they actually looked at the marine industry and they looked at, you know, there really was no aerospace yet. I mean, kind of.
Right.
So so then they developed these processes to make these cars, and especially the 53, 4, 5 cars. That was, each one's a little bit different because they were kind of learning on the fly, and tons and tons of man hours hand laying all the bodies and everything. I mean, so yeah. And if you're going to restore one of those, you got to have that gap back in it, is the crazy part.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I couldn't live like that.
No, it's a special breed. But they're definitely interesting, along with all of the mechanical issues that went along with them. But which I saw online the other day, somebody in, and you might be in this group, the Car Museum group on Facebook.
Yeah.
Did you see where the guy posted the new twin turbo caddy motor?
I did not.
So
I missed that.
The next evolution of the GM V8 is a direct injection, kind of like the current LTs. But I think it's a 4.2 liter V8 that Cadillac has reversed the airflow geometry along the lines of a Duramax diesel. Okay, so the intake ports are on the outside, and the exhaust goes up the top, and the exhaust goes right into a pair of turbos that is mounted in the V-valley.
No kidding.
And then the exhaust goes out the back, and that's how the diesels are. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
And it's direct injection, small displacement, high horsepower, packaged, you know, so turbos aren't off to the side, you know, taking up space.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to me because it's that design has been around for a while in other applications, but this is the first GM gas V8 to do it, and it's got a big Cadillac badge on the top, but the rumor is that's the new mid-engine Corvette engine also.
And boy, I bet that'll scream.
Yes, and that's kind of the need to package that small is to, you know, possibly fit in that car, and it's, you know, it's not been released yet. But as our friend Tony with the '68 Camaro mentioned, Trevor was talking to him about what he does at GM. And he said, well, I can't really say much, but I'm working on GM's worst kept secret right now. So he might actually be involved with that new mid-engine Corvette a little bit, which is even
we need
cooler.
the dish on that.
Yeah. So I'll try to get that out of him. He ain't going to end his career over us.
No. We need to take him out for some beers at the Stubborn.
That's right. Yeah.
Work him over a little bit.
Yeah. So... But I found it interesting that in that group, so they post a picture of this car, or this engine anyway, and it's nothing but negative comments. And ridiculous negative comments, because the one guy's like, oh, it's direct injection, so it's going to have a giant buildup of carbon on the valves, and it's going to blow soot everywhere. Well, there is some truth to that, because the direct injection shoots the fuel in past the intake valve. So one of the benefits of a regular injector is the air-fuel mixture comes into the cylinder head wet and helps to cool and clean intake valves.
The intake, yeah.
A lot of current LT cars, especially ones that aren't driven hard, you know, or operating temperature all the time or long distances, are building up carbon on these valves. And there's some service procedures to fix them and some additives and whatnot. I think one of the best ways to combat it is a secondary injector where they either shoot gasoline or even a methanol or some kind of stuff in there to keep them clean. But that was the first comment is, oh, you know, those direct injection engines are junk. Well, really, junk's kind of a strong word for that. The next one is, oh yeah, I couldn't. You read social media and you can't believe what the heck you're reading half the time. But some guy's going, oh, I bet it's got a timing chain, and that's going to stretch, and it's going to be junk. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And then there's all these people. Well, true that a timing chain does stretch, and then there's an argument over that. Well, it's not the chain that stretches; it's the individual links that stretch. It's like, all right.
Well,
and at that point,
what's the difference?
You just shut the phone off and throw it against the wall.
Love it.
Yeah, but it was interesting to me that it wasn't a whole bunch of people singing the praises saying, that's a great design or a great idea. It was all this, oh, well, imagine doing an intake manifold gasket on that thing because it's got all that stuff on top and blah, blah, blah. And I really have to bring it down to, those are people who are probably never, ever going to own one of these things. So they just got to do something.
Right. They got to poo-poo the whole shebang.
Right. It's the same as my theory about people that are always spreading bad news around. Everybody knows somebody like this who does nothing but spread rumors and bad news and skies falling. Those same people generally don't do anything with their own life. They don't bring anything to the table. They don't say, hey, check out this cure for cancer I just came up with and have a good topic. All they can say is, did you hear about the train wreck? And that's the only way they can command attention. So I think this whole thread was those people.
I gotcha.
And I was
getting back to carbon buildup on the intake. If there's no air, no fuel coming into that intake track, how does carbon build up on that intake valve?
Just on, I
guess,
build up
on the inside or on the outside.
I think it's just combustion byproduct, exhaust.
Oh, well, like from a little bit of overlap or something.
Yep.
Oh, I got you.
It's definitely overlap.
That makes sense.
When both valves are open at the same time,
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's how that all happens.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So and some of these people, and it's funny to me. We recently had our episode of Muscle Car of the Week with the Bugatti Veyron versus the Dodge Demon.
The Demon. Mm-hmm.
And for the very first time, I actually had to disable the comments on one of our videos.
Oh no!
Yes. And I have to say that typically our Muscle Car of the Week viewing audience and VATV viewing audience are, by and large, very, very nice and gracious people who understand why they're watching this stuff. They dig the Escape for a few minutes to check out a car, and yes, I screw stuff up and get things wrong, and usually I'm good for it. Somebody points something out, sure, I'll acknowledge and whatever. The technology, unfortunately, doesn't allow me to go back and correct that video right away, but we'll acknowledge later on. The Veyron piece, the guys at the Brothers Collection came up with that idea, and they said, let's do something, that'll really shake people up and do something different, and sure. So for those who haven't seen it, we say all through this that this is not a legitimate comparison between these two cars because we shoot this show in a parking lot and we don't have a track and pro drivers and the whole thing. Right. And the guys that handle these cars pointed out that there was a fire lane in front of the building, so why not just for fun grab an exotic out of the collection, the Veyron and this Dodge Demon, and just launch them and see what they do. So that's exactly how we present this. We don't claim to be Road and Track or Motor Trend or any authority on these cars. And in typical style, the episode was primarily about the Demon. So we did a feature about the Demon, what it is, what it was, and I also like to rely on published data as far as acceleration times and manufacturer claims and stuff like that, because again, I can't test this car. And sometimes that stuff is a little bit stretched as well, and it's always fodder for commentary. So I think our typical viewers got it and thought it was pretty cool. They got to see a car that they don't get to see every day, both of them, and it was kind of us versus them, muscle versus exotic. Well, the story got shared by some other like exotic car websites where
Oh boy.
people don't know what a demon is. They've never seen our show. They don't understand the relationship that we have with our viewers. As being cordial and respectful.
Yeah. Right.
And I got barbecued, man. These people lit me up like crazy.
Holy cow,
oh yeah, it was really unbelievable. And the reason why I shut the comments off, I mean, I can handle the criticism. I'm not worried about that, and I'll tell you why they were doing it. What I don't like doing is having, and you've seen this before, where somebody makes a comment and then there's an answer right after, but then the next guy makes the same comment, and then you got to repeat the answer, and the next guy, because nobody's reading all the comments, they're just firing from the hip, and you got 100 of the same thing over and over again. So that's the reason why I shut it down. But I got accused of wasting everybody's time with this fake comparison, and how dare you make me sit through all this garbage and didn't do an actual test, which I'll give them, but at the same time, we said in the beginning that that's not what it was.
Right.
And then that we were doing nothing but spreading propaganda for Dodge because the Dodge paperwork says that a demon did a 960-something quarter mile, and they're like, none of them have ever done that, and that's crazy. So what are you paid by Dodge and all the rest of it? To which I said, I wish I was being paid by Dodge.
Yeah, boy, you and me both.
Yeah, and then this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and you're an idiot, and all the rest of it. So, which I get that all the time anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. But it was pretty intense, and so it's one of those examples where the view count is pretty cool. We like the fact that it got out there, but wow, was that an unexpected. Unexpected response.
That's a real shame. I mean, some people are just too uptight. My goodness. I mean...
Well, yeah. And I try not to get upset about it because I know this is the world we live in, but it always brings me back to Teddy Roosevelt's quote about critics. And the critic is the person who doesn't do anything but criticize, So... I'm not going to get into a pissing match with people that watch the show that aren't happy with it. If you're not happy with it, I'm sorry, you maybe want to watch something else. Go make yourself happy. Don't.
Right. Yeah.
Life's too short. But at some point you want to say, well, look, we these guys obtained those cars. They let us use those cars. We put a crew together to shoot this video. We wrote all this notes and research and did the travel and did the shoot and edit the whole thing and put it all together and shared it with you at no cost to you. And now you're telling me what I need to do differently, and that not only that in a constructive manner, but you're just being a jerk about it and insulting me on top of it. So you really think about the society we live in where rather than saying something encouraging like, hey, I watched this, I learned a few things about both cars, and I paid attention enough to see that this was not a legitimate comparison. I think if an opportunity arises to do a legitimate comparison, you should do one, And that's what our typical viewer said, stuff like that. Instead of, you suck, and you're an idiot, and this was garbage, and, And then I go look, and the vast majority of those commenters, they don't have content on their own channel. They don't make anything or do anything.
I see.
They just spread sadness around the internet.
Nice.
And I thought to myself, it is not even in my realm of consciousness, say, for example, I meet one of these people in person, to ask them what they do for a living. And maybe, again, who knows? Maybe a guy is a house painter, maybe whatever. To say to him, that house is the wrong color. You suck, and you should go die.
Suck.
Yeah. Go kill yourself,
How dare you paint with Sherwin-Williams and not Behr? You're awful.
Right. And it's kind of the same thing. And it's like, well, really? Well, if you don't like the color of the house, don't paint your house that color, whatever. But to really call somebody out over such anger over something that's really, it's got nothing. The world did not change one iota because of our episode.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty fun episode, personally.
We had fun with it.
I want to see a demon or a Veyron move out. I mean, that's great. That was terrific.
Well, you got it at least. You got to see.
Yeah.
And again, I think in some cases, anytime you can see video of certain cars, being thrashed and whatever, it's kind of fun. That's why we do it.
Yep. Totally. That's why I watch it.
Well, there you go. So it's a big shout out and thank you to our regular viewers that understand what we do for being respectful, because that's what we try to do, is be respectful and know that we're all just having a good time. And this week's episode might not be a car that you like, and if you don't like that car, most people just click off and go do something else. Go for it. Don't sit through to the very end and brew up as much anger as you can. It's not good for you, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I haven't got a chance to see it yet, but I'm going to watch it today. So.
Oh, the latest one?
Yeah, I haven't got to see it yet, but the girls are out shopping, so I'll throw it up on the big screen and watch it in all its glory.
Nice. So let me ask this little market research. As a consumer, what platform do you watch this stuff on?
On YouTube.
What is your mechanism to watch YouTube on your screen?
Oh, typically on my phone, but I do have the Amazon Firebox that I'll watch through that. Like after my wife goes to bed, and I can just watch whatever I want to watch.
You mean she doesn't like Muscle Car of the Week?
Marriage is about compromise.
It is, yeah. That pink Cadillac really stung,
I'll
didn't it?
stream it. Yes, I'll stream it on my from the Amazon box.
Gotcha. It seems like the Amazon platform has been very, very popular. I have 3 or 4 Fire Sticks of my own, I know.
Right on.
Just because you can convert any old TV into something modern.
Yeah.
I don't have that data, I don't think, to know what platform everybody's watching stuff on, but I'm just always trying to make it easier, to consume. So
It is.
Yeah.
It is easy.
Yeah. So, well, it's good to know. I hate to be one of those people that says, we'll have more news soon, but we will have some news soon on some increased television distribution coming this fall as well. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So I think another one of those Amazon platform networks is picking up our stuff.
Oh, nice.
So as you go to YouTube, my goal is to be able to just have it show up as a channel on Amazon.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
It would be sweet. And there's technology there. We can hire this outfit that will just go ahead and create the channel and then send us a bill. And the bill's too big. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's kind of a self-publishing method,
I gotcha.
Because as we look at the modern landscape, there's things changing in every direction, and it's really changing quickly on how people can watch this stuff. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of it all,
Yeah.
We're a small
You
operation,
do-
everybody's got to have
You
multiple
do a good
hats.
job of it, though.
Well, I appreciate that.
You bet, buddy.
All right, man. Well, I'm curious to know about my 74 GTO estimate.
All right. 74. I'll tell you the production numbers. The 74 GTO was produced. There were 7,058 units produced.
Really?
Which is a pretty low number.
That's actually a far higher number than I was expecting.
However,
73.
1973, there were 4,806. Man, and that is your correct answer. 1973.
Wow. So the 73 car, I wonder why there was an uptick in sales for 74. The car didn't change very much.
Well, the platform changed. I mean, the 73 was a Le Mans based.
I guess
car.
so. Yeah, there you go.
74 changed to the X body, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Huh.
And maybe 73 they realized we got to do something
Maybe
for a last gasp.
Maybe 74 they were able to advertise a GTO that got better gas mileage.
Maybe. Oh, you know what? That's a good point.
Because it was
because it was a 350 car and probably a lighter platform.
Yeah, the X platform is lighter than the A, and probably was a 2-barrel.
Well, you can get a 4-barrel for it, but I think you could. I'm not sure if you could get a 2-barrel on that or not. I know you could in 67, but I don't know.
I'm thinking in the 70s,
or not.
most 350 motors are 2 barrels. It was unusual to see a 354 barrel on anything except a truck and maybe a Camaro.
Yeah, it had the shaker scoop on it.
Yeah,
cool.
What a goofy mess on that car. I'm not a huge fan.
And people still call them Novas.
Yeah, they call them Nova. And I appreciate they try to do something, but at some point it's like, well, let's just try and pick and choose some of the cooler elements of everything we can have and throw them on a car that it doesn't really go with, like the shaker. And,
it was a difficult time, I'm sure, for GM.
Yeah, but just shortly thereafter, man, another year and a half, and here comes the Bandit Trans Am and whammo.
Yeah, back in action.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, I lose. So your guess, the question was how many 71 GTO Judge convertibles were painted white? And the correct answer is 3. So you were... you said 2 because the 2
3 was dancing in my mind too. God dang it!
Yeah. So cameo white, Aztec gold. There was another gold color that I'm not super familiar with. I think it's called Quezal, Quezal, and I got to research that, but I got paperwork showing that there was a second gold. A rally green one, a couple tropical lime cars. That's a great color, that tropical lime. Cardinal red, Laurentian green, Canyon copper, Starlight black, of course Lucerne blue, and Castilian bronze were the colors available. So not all 17 were different colors, handfuls of each. And I think the cameo white was the most popular single color.
Really?
Of the 71 GTO Judge convertibles. Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to see the silver car. Did I say that? No, the Castilian bronze car. I think I saw that one in person. I've seen one of the tropical lime cars. I've seen, of course, 2 of the white ones. So I think I might have seen 5 of those in person at this point.
Cool.
That I'm aware of the 17.
That's a good number.
I think they're all known of where they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're all still around. That's great.
I don't know that they're all still around, but I think the stories are known.
Oh, I see. Okay. So they're all accounted for.
In some fashion, yeah.
Right, some fashion. I got you.
And that's, again, that's why you go to the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. I could have walked past 3 of them and not even notice it because there's so much going on there.
True.
And then later on,
you very well could have.
Holy mackerel! Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, right on.
When you're walking by 71 Hemi Cuda convertibles, you forget that you're walking by a 71 Judge convertible.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I drove the white one, the unrestored car, when we shot the Muscle Car of the Week episode on it.
You did.
Just in and out of the building. I didn't go tour around with the car, but I'll tell you what, it drove wonderfully. Is
that a 455 car?
455 HO car. It was an automatic AC. And it's funny because the Judge was supposed to be kind of the stripper version originally.
Right.
But by the end, this thing had almost every option on it.
Wow.
Air, tilt, cruise. Not as well loaded as the white restored car. I think that one even has power seats in it. I think that thing's got absolutely everything. But, I don't know. Interesting. All righty, my man. Well, I think that we've dragged this out for our listeners quite long enough today. Our listener. No, there's a couple now. 2, 3.
Yeah, we got 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Nice.
So thanks for the time. This was fun, and maybe next time we'll get an update. We'll be able to hear the GTO running in your garage.
Yeah. Well, how many episodes we have to do? A few. So that's gonna happen, my man. much like Tony.
Yeah.
I'm just a ham and egger doing what I can with what I got.
Yeah. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will see you next time on V8 Radio. You can always listen on Stitcher, on iTunes, on Google Play, on the TuneIn Radio app, on Facebook, or directly on our website at v8radio.com. And if you missed it, there's a special episode on V8 Radio of our music show, which is not available on any other platform except for v8radio.com. Check that one out and leave us some feedback. Let us know what you think about that one. And we'll see you next time on V8 Radio.